Owen and Stephanie Elizalde. I show you registered as Brandon Enos on behalf of Cushing ISD, TREA and yourself testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I show you registered as Brad Owen on behalf of Burke Burnett ISD, or Burke is what's his name calls it. No, that sounds like it's not Burke. It's Burke Burnett. James Frank. Testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, and then I show you registered as Stephanie Elizalde on behalf of Dallas ISD and yourself testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Enos.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, Chairman Buckley, Chairman Bernal, members of the committee. I'm Dr. Enos, proud superintendent, Cushing ISD. Our parents and students in Cushing have lost trust and faith in our flawed assessment and accountability system. That's what I want to highlight here today, is that we have a flawed system that can be fixed with this legislation. Our biggest problem with STAAR is it takes weeks to prepare and months to get the results. I like to say it's like an obituary. We can't do anything about it. It's already written, it's done, and we need something where in real time throughout the year, we can fix any gaps that our students have. These tests, these norm reference tests are quick, they are low cost, and they give real-time data. Our 3rd through 8 accountability system is based entirely on one test, one day at the STAAR test, and that's entirely unacceptable. Let me tell you a personal story. If you'll look in the handout that I gave you I set them over here. We have a student at Cushing ISD several years ago. His name is TJ. I want to tell you TJ's story. TJ was a young man, special ed program, with an inoperable brain tumor. All TJ wanted to do in the spring was to spend time with his classmates. But we needed to get him ready for STAAR. We called TEA and we asked for a waiver for TJ, and we said, we don't want to give this young man the STAAR test, but we don't want to be held accountable. We're in a small district. Every test counts. The TEA said they understood our concern, but they wouldn't give us a waiver. That's a problem. We have a failed system, and that's just one example of how STAAR has failed our schools and how we can do better. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Dr. Owen.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Buckley, Vice Chair Bernal, and committee members. I'm Brad Owen, Superintendent at Burke Burnett ISD, 29 years in education. For the majority of my career, the state's accountability system has not followed and not been aligned to a wealth of research on assessment for learning or formative assessment. The current House Bill 4 that you're looking at is grounded in what's called formative assessment, which is, again, assessment for learning. So that's that beginning, middle, and end of year that allows teachers and parents as well. And so two things I want to highlight about the bill that are, to me, are extremely important. We've talked about trust a lot. Oftentimes in our current accountability system, 2 major components get left out: the teachers and the parents. Teachers are not able to take anything that is provided in our current STAAR system as far as the data. We don't receive it till summer starts. Summer's already in. Teachers are not in that mode. Kids aren't with them. We don't intervene till the following September at best. And so teachers are not receiving data that is actionable, timely, or specific. That is what makes an assessment valid, reliable, and good. Also, our parents are not receiving that timely, specific feedback on where their children are throughout the course of the year. So this, by having the 3 different assessments, beginning, middle, and end, providing that assessment data within 24 hours, provides me, the teachers, our teachers, opportunities to sit together, look at the data, talk about instructional strategies that were used, which instructional strategy was better, and then actually apply that instructional strategy while I've got the kids in the classroom, while I can best affect their learning trajectory during the year which they're being progress monitored. And then parents actually getting detailed reports that they can work with their kids at home while that's going on. And then the last thing is this system recognizes our child as a whole child, that they're not just simply a score. It recognizes that school districts across the state are not all the same, and that it provides for local ownership by incorporating those local indicators we talked about. It expands to include data points that reflect the whole child, the value of full day pre-K, which is it's critical, and the value of well-trained staff, which is also critical in the development of high-quality instructional learning classrooms and environments that are conducive to all students learning at high levels.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Owen. Dr. Elizalde.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Buckley, Vice Chairman Bernal, and committee members. My name is Stephanie Elizalde, and I serve as Superintendent for Dallas Independent School District. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for leading. It took this chair, this committee, to bring this legislation to propose authentic and meaningful accountability reform. First, through year assessments, remove the teaching to the test arising from one high-stakes test given near the end of each school year. Second, real-time feedback creates meaningful accountability. It doesn't help if parents and teachers get feedback after the student has already moved on to the next grade. Just ask any parent or teacher and they will tell you that's not accountability, that's frustration. Finally, replacing STAAR 2.0 with a nationally norm reference test like in Senate Bill 2 makes sense. We need accountability. So let's hold ourselves accountable to both state and national comparisons. What you propose is not just innovative, it's research-based and it's courageous. Let's restore trust, faith, and confidence in Texas' testing and accountability system, and let's prepare our students for their future, not our present. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman Frank.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just thank you all so much for your staying here and for your participation in this. How long, Dr. Owen, you know, I'm much more familiar with your role you're in my district. We've been talking about this, I don't know, for 6 or 8 years. Can you walk through just pretty quickly kind of some of the background of what you have been doing and your group has been doing? Because I think while Chairman Buckley rightly should get a tremendous amount of credit for the bill because it is a fantastic bill, I think it is his willingness to listen and incorporate, because the legislature has to listen to educators, but they also have to have educators willing to do the work that y'all have done, and frankly also listen to the legislators of what we have to have. So can you walk through just briefly what kind of how we got here with some of this?
I'll be brief. Our journey with this started in 2017 when our school district, along with 35 others, created what was called the Texas Public Accountability Consortium, and that was working to create community-based accountability systems in our school districts. Because we recognized, again, that STAAR was failing not only our students, but it was failing our teachers, and it was failing our parents, because those three have to be together to have a valid, reliable system to actually impact student learning at all levels. And there's a major disconnect between our current accountability system, the student, our teachers, and our parents. Again, so that distrust was there. And so we came together, we created what was called community-based accountability systems based around 7 pillars, because we recognize our children are more than a score, and that multiple data points can obviously increase the predictability of the future success of a child. And so looking at more than just simply one test, one time, one day. And so fast forward, working with lots of other organizations, kind of wondering why they weren't maybe moving off high center to come and recommend something and work with legislators. We decided as a group, especially those of us in Region 9, we all work together for sure, to say, you know what, it doesn't do us any good if we're just griping about it. We need to bring a solution. So we worked a lot this year with multiple, not only in Region 9, but I reached out to legislators across the state. School districts across the state, over 200 total, had signed on to a bill that we had kind of drafted, working with Representative Frank. It was 3796 that was filed as well. So this is something that's been very passionate for us. It's not something that was kind of done on a whim. This is something that's been looked at and needed for years.
Well, I appreciate it, because I think really the thing I hear in y'all's excitement is that you feel listened to, because I think we too often, I've heard in this committee just the tension between legislatures and or legislators and what we do and what y'all do, and you don't feel heard. Sometimes we don't feel listened to, you know. And I think if we can do that, we can be successful. If we can realize that we are in partnership to try to make it best for parents and kids, and I think then y'all have to have the partnership that I hear you talk about all the time. You have to partner with the parents to be successful and not just look at the bad parents. And so anyway, Chairman, thank y'all so much for your work, and thank you for just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman Frank. Members, any more questions for this panel? Representative Schoolcraft.
Dr. Elizalde, I understand you have experience with the local accountability system. Can
Yes,
you tell
sir.
me about that?
Yes, sir. We were the last school district, I think we were the first to apply, utilizing the legislation that you refer to. And so Dallas actually had a local accountability system that had to be evaluated for validity and reliability by the Texas Education Agency. And it incorporated some local accountability measures in addition to STAAR. We stayed with that system until 2 years ago, because we were the only school district that still kept that particular system, which meant we were being compared to other school districts that didn't have a local accountability system. So in fact, in Dallas ISD, it lowered the number of A's and B's that we had.
Okay, I was wondering how that worked. The state accountability system is supposed to be equal
It had
across
to-
the state. So, but this, if you have a local system, that doesn't work, right?
Well, actually, the rules require that the STAR had to be a minimum of 50% of the local accountability system. And so we met all of the rules, and so STAR was 50%. We had a school growth model called an SEI, which was 30%. And then we had 10% culture and climate, which was staff and parent survey responses. And then lastly was extracurricular activities, that was another 10%.
Okay, but y'all went into it and then you've backed out since, and, okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Chairman Ashby.
Just to really a comment, I want to shout out to Dr. Enos and thank you for being here. I'm not his rep, but I'm next door. And so he's a strong advocate for public schools in our region of the state. And I appreciate also you representing TREA and knowing of the Rural Educator Association in support of this bill as well. So thank you for all of you for being here. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Members, any more questions for this panel? All right, Representative Leah Wilson.
I'm just wondering, can we just like put the nail in the coffin on like STAR alt and the things that we have that are just absolutely torturous for our intellectually disabled population and their teachers? I mean, I know some of it's tied to, the federal regulations, and some of that testing has to be done, but again, most of it's completely meaningless. And as soon as our intellectually disabled students meet one of those, I think there's like 4 objectives on the alt, which, like dressing, that might take them 5 years. Once that student population gets the skill, they retain it, but it takes them a very long time to get it. So one of the 4, I think, qualifiers on there was dressing. And so now we got to move them into a STAR modified. I mean, it's just insane. Can we just we're not going to go back there, right? I mean, it's heartbreaking, really. And then, if they don't pass, then you have to have another ARD, and then you have to have a plan to, do remediation. And then, I mean, and it's one more thing too. It's so hard on the parents, because really you end up having 3 ARDs because they can't pass. And so one more time, you're reminding the parent that their child is not like everybody else's. And it's just like, that's the worst part of it, I think, for me.
I don't disagree with the STAR Alt 2. It's given to students who are intellectually disabled, and sometimes it breaks our heart to have to give that test.
Absolutely.
It can take weeks and weeks, and then when they still fail, they don't finish it.
Yeah, it's
but
so
there is no
horrible.
more STAR modified. That's been done away with. So if you're not intellectually disabled, you're taking the same test as our GT kids. They have accommodations, but that's the system we live in right now. and it
But
doesn't
we're
make
not
any-
going to be doing that to that student population anymore?
No, it'll be an adaptive test.
Okay.
So if I miss 3 or 4 questions at the get-go, then the test will automatically modify and make it so that they're more at my level. And then the highest threshold I can attain on that test is not as high as somebody who got the questions right. So as you
Okay.
take the test and you do well, the test adjusts to you, or if you
Yeah.
don't do as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, members, any more questions for this panel? Representative Bryant.
Dr. Elizalde, is there anything else that we need to know about this?
I would like to thank you very much, Representative Bryant. I did want to remind the committee, because I heard many questions about the alignment of a norm reference test and what percentage of the standards would be assessed. I do want to remind everyone, the current STAAR does not assess all of the standards. That's our current reality. There's no way to assess all of the standards that are taught. So in fact, we would actually get a tighter alignment with a normed reference assessment where we would actually go out and you would actually procure that with the specific requirements that would then be validated.
I'm gonna go home and tell everybody my superintendent was up here at 2:30 in the morning.
All right, thank you. Members, any more questions? All right, we appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for your patience.